8 signs that someone close to you secretly hates you. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Carl Jung. Have you ever felt a strange twist in your gut when someone complimented you? As if their words didn't match the energy behind them? That's not paranoia. It's your intuition sensing the shadow self that Jung spoke of. The hidden envy, resentment, and secret competition masked by fake smiles. In today's video on spiritual wisdom, we'll explore 8 subtle signs that someone close to you may secretly hate you. These insights aren't just warnings. They're keys to self-protection and emotional clarity. Have you ever experienced this before? Drop your story or thoughts in the comments. We're here to grow and awaken together. Chapter 1. Sarcasm as contempt. When someone close to you constantly masks cruelty as comedy, it's not affection, it's contempt. Sarcasm, when used as a weapon, is one of the most overlooked signs of hidden hostility. These are not harmless jokes. They are precision attacks disguised as playfulness, aimed directly at your insecurities. The words may sound light, but the impact is heavy. You laugh along, but deep down, your soul feels a sting it cannot ignore. The phrase, "it was just a joke," becomes a recurring shield they hide behind. Every time you wince or shrink, they pull it out like a get-out-of-jail-free card. But these jokes always seem to land where you're most vulnerable. Your appearance, your ambitions, your values. It's not random. It's targeted. And when the humor consistently makes you feel small, anxious, or ashamed, that's no accident. It's emotional manipulation. Their sarcasm is a quiet way of controlling the emotional climate, of keeping you off balance without ever getting their hands dirty. Carl Jung taught us about the shadow, the unconscious parts of ourselves we deny and project onto others. Sarcastic jabs often reveal more about the one delivering them than the one receiving them. Behind every joke that cuts too deep lies suppressed envy, insecurity, or resentment. Instead of confronting those emotions within themselves, these individuals direct them at you. And because it's wrapped in humor, you're made to feel guilty for noticing, as if your discomfort is the real problem. But your intuition doesn't lie. When your gut tightens, when your spirit dims in someone's presence, pay attention. The person who constantly teases you might not be teasing at all. They might be bleeding their shadow into your light. And no matter how polished their smile or casual their tone, the damage adds up. Over time, you begin to shrink, not just around them, but within yourself. True connection uplifts. It doesn't hide daggers and laughter. If someone's humor consistently makes you feel diminished, that's a red flag one that shouldn't be brushed off with, "they didn't mean it." Because the truth is, they did. Maybe not consciously, but their shadow did. And your body felt it before your mind could explain it. Have you ever laughed along with someone, only to walk away feeling drained or insulted? If this resonates with you, drop a comment below saying, "I've felt this energy," so others know they're not alone, and so we can keep diving deeper into the hidden truths that protect our peace. Chapter 2. Subtle sabotage. They don't stab you in the back. They slice your spirit with tiny paper cuts you're not supposed to notice. Again and again, they forget your big moments. They miss your graduation, your birthday, your product launch. When you need encouragement, they go silent. When you ask for advice, they offer suggestions that subtly nudge you in the wrong direction, disguised as help but designed to derail. This isn't random. It's not bad luck or forgetfulness. It's calculated, quiet sabotage. And the worst part? They smile through it all, making it harder for you to trust your own intuition. What makes it so hard to detect is the way they dress their neglect in politeness. They say things like, "I totally meant to be there," or "I just had something come up," again and again. But when it's their moment, they expect your full attention. They hold you accountable for their needs, but offer none of that accountability in return. At first, you make excuses for them. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they didn't know how important it was. But over time, a pattern emerges. And that pattern whispers a truth your soul already knows. They don't truly support you. They may not say it aloud, but their actions scream it. And their silence when you succeed? That silence is the loudest sound in the room. People like this erode your confidence, not with open criticism, but with invisible weight. When you talk about your dreams, they tilt their head and give you lukewarm encouragement, just enough to seem supportive, not enough to uplift. They might say, "Are you sure you're ready for that?" Or, "That's a big risk, don't you think?" And when things go well, they minimize your wins. Anyone could have done that. You just got lucky. It's death by 1,000 dismissals. And somehow, you end up doubting yourself, questioning your worth, your ideas, your timing, when the real sabotage wasn't internal, but environmental. This behavior often stems from the shadow self that Carl Jung spoke about, a part of the human psyche that hides the things people don't want to admit, like jealousy, competition, and resentment. Rather than deal with those uncomfortable feelings directly, some people project them sideways, through sabotage cloaked as concern. They don't want to confront their envy, so instead, they undercut you slowly, hoping you'll fail quietly, so they won't have to feel left behind. This isn't always conscious, but it is dangerous. Because while you're busy being honest and open, they're busy plotting in silence, usually under the guise of friendship. In modern life, this shows up in close relationships more than we care to admit. A coworker who never shares credit. A sibling who always changes the subject when you talk about something you're proud of. A best friend who only calls when they need something. They don't argue. They don't insult you. They just fail you, little by little, until you shrink, until you stop asking, until you stop shining so bright, just to keep the peace. But real love doesn't ask you to dim your light. Real support doesn't vanish when you rise. These people are masters of disguise. And if you keep giving them the benefit of the doubt, you'll find yourself exhausted, insecure, and emotionally confused. That's the goal of quiet sabotage, to make you doubt yourself so much that you never notice it was them all along. That's why recognizing this pattern is crucial to your healing. Not everyone who smiles at you loves you. Not everyone who claps is happy for you. And not everyone who says, "I'm proud of you," means it in their heart. If someone in your life consistently makes you feel unsupported, confused, or deflated after interacting with them, don't ignore it. That's not just a feeling. That's your spirit picking up on something your eyes can't see. Don't wait for proof. Their energy is the evidence. Leave a comment below if this resonates with you, and write, "I choose aligned, loving connections," to affirm your commitment to the relationships that nourish your soul. Chapter 3. Silent Competition. Every time you succeed, there's a flicker in their eyes, a pause in their cheer, a shift in their tone. They smile, but it feels like a mask. Because deep down, your success isn't something they celebrate. It's something they measure themselves against. You're not just growing. You're unknowingly challenging their self-worth. What you see as a win, they secretly take as a loss. And instead of cheering you on, they mentally prepare their counterstrike. A story about their own accomplishment, a subtle one-up, a reminder that you're not ahead they are, or at least they want to be. This is not friendship. This is a silent competition. It's not loud. It doesn't scream jealousy. It whispers it in every reaction that feels slightly off. You talk about something you're proud of, and suddenly they change the subject. You shine, and they dim the room just enough so no one notices. You feel drained, not because of your work, but because you're surrounded by someone who turns every moment into a scoreboard. They don't clap when you win. They calculate. They don't walk beside you. They race you in secret. And the finish line keeps moving because they're not in it for joy. They're in it for ego. You start questioning yourself. You wonder if maybe you're just too sensitive. But Carl Jung reminded us, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Their irritation with your growth reveals their refusal to grow. Their envy is not really about you. It's about the parts of themselves they've left abandoned. When your confidence enters the room, it confronts their insecurity. When your ambition speaks, it exposes their complacency. And that's why they compete. Because they don't know how to confront their own stillness. Instead of healing, they project. Instead of evolving, they compare. You were never trying to compete. You were just trying to become. But now, you're caught in an invisible war with someone who pretends to love you, but secretly resents your rise. And here's the dangerous part. You may begin shrinking yourself to keep the peace. You may water yourself down to be digestible to people who never intended to grow beside you. You may silence your joy so they don't feel small. But that's not your job. Your light is not a threat. It's a mirror. What they see in you reflects what they refuse to face in themselves. This is the energy that drains you without a word. The energy that hides behind compliments and claps, but always carries the undercurrent of envy. When hate wears the costume of friendship, it becomes a slow poison. It doesn't attack you, it erodes you. And if you're not aware, you'll normalize that erosion. You'll keep toxic people close because they never did anything wrong. But energy doesn't lie, and silence can scream louder than words. Pay attention. True friends don't compete. They inspire. They don't flinch at your glow. They amplify it. They don't feel threatened by your transformation. They celebrate it because they too are evolving. If your presence makes someone insecure, it's not your duty to dim. It's their responsibility to heal. Did you find this helpful? If so, please comment "awesome" below so we can continue to explore this kind of deep spiritual wisdom together. Chapter 4. Superficial kindness. Their compliments sound sweet, but something in your gut twists. You hear, "I'm proud of you," or "You're amazing," yet there's a hollow echo behind the words. The smile on their face doesn't reach their eyes. You notice it, even if you try to brush it off. It's that quiet voice inside whispering, "They don't really mean it." This is not paranoia, it's intuition. Carl Jung believed that what we fail to bring into awareness will rule our lives in silence. That includes the hidden resentment behind polite smiles. True friends don't just say kind things. They radiate warmth when they say them. Real support is felt in the heart. Superficial kindness, on the other hand, feels like being hugged by someone who's emotionally checked out. You sense it when their energy doesn't match their words. The conversation feels scripted. They use the right phrases: "I support you," "You deserve it," "Good job." But their presence is missing. There's no real eye contact, no empathy in their voice. Everything about their interaction feels robotic, as if they're acting from obligation rather than care. According to Jung, this is the shadow self in action. Envy, frustration, and competition dressed up in politeness. And though they may never openly say a hurtful thing, their energy quietly drains you. You leave conversations with them feeling confused, like something just doesn't add up. You might begin to notice they only show up when it benefits them. They celebrate your success publicly, but privately, they go silent. When you're struggling, they offer vague support, but they're quick to disappear when you need real emotional presence. A person who secretly resents you won't attack you. They'll avoid you. Or worse, stay close enough to observe you, but far enough to never uplift you. They'll clap with the crowd, but you'll feel the pause in their applause. You'll sense the hesitation behind their congratulations. This kind of subtle sabotage is hard to explain, but your spirit feels the disconnect even if your mind can't find the proof. Their politeness starts to feel like a performance. Every kind word seems rehearsed. Every compliment feels like a transaction. You might start to wonder if you're imagining things, especially because nothing overt has happened, no betrayal, no harsh words. But that's the trick. The most dangerous hatred is not the loud kind, it's the quiet one, masked by etiquette. And if you ignore it long enough, it begins to erode your energy, self-trust, and emotional clarity. Because the truth is, love never needs a script, it flows. But resentment rehearses every word to appear clean on the surface. When someone's kindness lacks soul, when their support feels more like strategy than sincerity, it's not just awkward, it's toxic. And the longer you stay in their energy, the more your own spirit starts to dim. Jung reminds us that we must bring the shadow to light, or else it controls us from the dark. So when you feel that off vibe from someone who's nice, pay attention. You're not being overly sensitive. You're reading energy accurately. Energy doesn't lie. Words do. If you've ever felt the chill behind a warm smile, you're not alone. Subscribe for more insights on decoding fake kindness and building truly authentic connections. Chapter 5. Controlling through care. Their words sound like wisdom, but the result is always the same. Your dreams get smaller. You speak your truth. They nod with concern, and suddenly you're doubting yourself. They say it's for your own good, but somehow you always end up discouraged, hesitant, or quietly giving up on what lights you up inside. This isn't love, it's control, wearing the mask of protection. What they call advice is often their attempt to keep you in a place that feels safe for them, not for you. Carl Jung once said that people who can't manage their own inner chaos often try to control others to create the illusion of safety. Their inner disorder leaks outward, not through rage or obvious aggression, but through soft-spoken warnings, logical arguments, and carefully disguised fear. And because they sound calm and composed, you believe them. You internalize their fear as your own. You shrink, thinking it's maturity. You settle, thinking it's wisdom. But pay close attention. Their concern always flows in one direction, away from your expansion. They never say, "How can I help you grow into that?" They say, "Are you sure?" That's risky. What if you fail? They push you toward comfort, but never freedom. Behind every piece of their guidance is a hidden message. Don't change. Because if you change, you'll leave the version of yourself they know how to control. This kind of dynamic plays out everywhere in families, friendships, and romantic relationships. You tell your mother you want to leave your job and pursue your calling, and she says, "Just be grateful you have stability." You tell your partner you want to write a book, and they say, "You don't have time for that." You mention moving to another city, and your best friend looks away and says, "But everything you need is right here." And each time, you're left wondering if your desires are selfish, immature, or unrealistic. It's not just discouragement, it's emotional scripting. You start to believe that dreaming big is dangerous, that wanting more is a betrayal, that growing means losing love. And that's the real trap. When fear dresses up as care, you confuse control for closeness. Their shadow, the part of them that feels unsafe, insecure, and unworthy, reaches out and quietly steers your life. Not because they hate you, but because they haven't made peace with their own chaos. But you don't owe anyone your smallness. Your vision doesn't need their permission. And love, real love, will never stand in the way of your evolution. It won't cage you to feel secure. It won't shrink you to avoid abandonment. It will walk beside you, even if the path makes them uncomfortable. Because true care is not about control. It's about support, trust, and believing in your light, even when it outshines their shadow. If this message opened your eyes today, leave a comment of truth. I trust my path. I release control and walk boldly in my purpose. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more powerful insights every week. Chapter 6: Gossip and Criticism Behind Your Back. They won't confront you directly. Instead, they chip away at your spirit with whispers. Their words creep through social spaces like smoke, twisting your intentions, reshaping your character, and planting suspicion in the minds of others. Suddenly, you're left wondering why the energy in the room shifts when you enter. Why do people hesitate before responding? Why do friends begin to feel distant? This isn't paranoia. It's a reaction to the silent sabotage of someone who pretends to support you, all while crafting a version of you that fits their insecurities. Carl Jung believed the shadow self holds all the parts of us we reject. And when someone refuses to face that darkness, it leaks out in manipulation and gossip. They don't just talk, they inject venom subtly, so it's not easily traced back to them. They say just enough to raise eyebrows, just enough to make others doubt you. Their smiles remain polite, but their words travel in secret, draining your relationships and your peace of mind. And the reason they do this? It's not your success, your kindness, or even your mistakes. It's the way your light exposes their unresolved wounds. These individuals avoid open conflict because confrontation would require honesty, and honesty would demand vulnerability. Instead, they manipulate perception. They isolate you, not by removing you, but by poisoning how others see you. It's slow, it's silent, and it works if you don't wake up to it. You start to second-guess your own intuition. You tone yourself down. You shrink to make the atmosphere lighter. But the truth is, what they say about you behind your back is a mirror of what they feel about themselves. Their criticism reveals their own shame. Their gossip reveals their jealousy. And here's the twist. They often frame their criticism as concern. "I'm just worried about her," they'll say. while tearing apart your choices. "I just think he's changing," they'll whisper, while resenting your growth. This kind of manipulation is dangerous because it sounds like care. But real care doesn't operate in the shadows. Real friends speak directly, protect your name, and tell you hard truths to your face, not to a crowd behind your back. If someone close to you is spreading rumors, twisting your words, or turning others against you without cause, they don't just dislike you, they resent you, maybe even hate you. And the more you rise, the more their shadow panics. You owe it to yourself to recognize these signs, not to seek revenge, but to protect your peace. Because being around someone who secretly hates you is like drinking poisoned water. It looks clear, but it's killing something inside you every day. Have you ever felt the sting of being misunderstood because of whispers you never heard but felt? If this message speaks to your heart, share your experience in the comments so others know they're not alone. And if you've ever stayed silent while someone twisted your truth, comment, "I choose truth," and let's stand strong together. Chapter 7. No joy in your success. They smiled when you were broken. They clapped when you were trying. But now that you're actually succeeding, they're nowhere to be found. That silence isn't a coincidence, it's a message. When someone close to you quietly withdraws as you rise, it's often because your growth is confronting something they haven't dealt with inside themselves. Carl Jung called it the shadow of the hidden parts of the psyche we disown, but end up projecting onto others. And your light has now become a threat to their darkness. They didn't mind you climbing when they thought you'd never make it. In fact, they were comfortable as long as you were beneath them or struggling beside them. But now, your success exposes their stagnation. Your happiness reminds them of their discontent. You haven't done anything wrong, but in their eyes, you've become too much, too bold, too blessed, too free. And instead of cheering, they retreat. They make excuses. They distance themselves. Not because you've changed, but because you've outgrown the version of you that made them feel safe. It often starts subtly. The congratulations become quieter. The responses to your joy feel forced or rehearsed. When you share your wins, they switch the subject. When you celebrate, they downplay. It's not just what they say, it's what they don't say. Silence in moments of your joy speaks louder than applause during your pain. Because when someone's heart is secretly competing with you, your success doesn't inspire them, it wounds them. And yet, they were always available when you were hurting. When life hit you hard, they had time. When you doubted yourself, they were there with words. But now that you believe in yourself, now that you're shining, they disappear. Because your light reveals their inner chaos. Carl Jung believed that people who can't handle their own inner turmoil often try to suppress or distance themselves from the people who remind them of what they could be. Your success becomes a mirror they don't want to look into. True friends grow with you. They evolve alongside you. They're not intimidated by your wings. They help you fly. But envious ones? They won't attack you. They'll just fade. They'll use phrases like, "I'm just busy," or "You've changed," to mask what they really feel, left behind. Their emotional withdrawal isn't about boundaries. It's about bruised egos. Your joy bruises their pride. And instead of doing the work to heal, they choose the easier route: silence, distance, and quiet resentment. But your progress is not an offense. Your happiness is not a betrayal. And their discomfort is not your burden to carry. You don't have to shrink just to keep someone else comfortable in your light. You weren't meant to stay small so others could feel big. If they can't clap when you win, they were never truly on your team. Growth will always reveal who was clapping from the heart and who was clapping for control. Their silence is their confession. Their distance is their decision. And your continued rise is your truth. Keep climbing. Keep glowing. Let your joy be loud, even if it makes others quiet. Because the ones meant for you will never fear your light. They'll reflect it. Comment below. I celebrate my growth unapologetically if you're done shrinking to make others comfortable. Let's rise boldly and in truth together. Chapter 8. Body language never lies. Their words may say, "I'm happy for you," but their body speaks a different truth. The smile they flash is tight. Their eyes avoid yours. The energy in the room shifts subtly but unmistakably. You feel it. It's not what they said. It's how they said it, how they stood, how they looked away just a second too long. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious reveals itself when the conscious tries to hide. And that's exactly what happens when hidden resentment slips through the cracks of polite conversation. You don't need a psychology degree to pick up on these signals. Your intuition already knows. The gut twist you feel isn't random. The unease in your chest isn't paranoia. It's your body translating microsignals. Stiff posture, crossed arms, delayed responses, shallow compliments. These aren't accidental. They are the unconscious body's confession. The body can't lie, even when the mouth does. And yet, so often, we second-guess ourselves. We tell ourselves they're just tired, distracted, or going through something. But patterns reveal truth. When someone consistently reacts to your wins with tension or withdrawal, you're not imagining it. Their resentment may be silent, but it's not invisible. It shows in the way they change the subject when you share good news. It reveals itself in the forced smile when others praise you. It leaks out in their lack of enthusiasm, the emotional vacancy behind the congratulations. Real friends don't compete with your light. They rise with it. When you grow, they feel inspired, not threatened. When you shine, they don't squint. They celebrate. That emotional presence, that shared joy, is the mark of authentic connection. On the other hand, someone who secretly harbors resentment will always find ways to dim the moment, not by shouting, not by arguing, but by slowly pulling back their energy, their support, their warmth. This silent withdrawal becomes more painful over time, because it's not just what they do, it's what they withhold. They don't clap when you rise. They don't ask how you feel. They don't celebrate your joy with full presence. Instead, they nod while secretly stepping away inside. And that distance is not physical. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's the kind of quiet sabotage that leaves you questioning your worth, your path, and even your perception. So watch the body. Feel the energy. Trust the space between the words, because the body never lies. The micro-expressions, the energy pull, the hesitations reveal everything the mouth refuses to admit. When someone says, "I'm proud of you," but looks like they're in pain, listen to the look, not the sentence. When they say, "That's great news," but don't ask another question, hear the silence louder than the phrase. Your body knows, your intuition remembers, and your spirit feels every shift. The deeper lesson is this: you are not here to shrink for someone else's comfort. You're not meant to dull your light to protect someone else's shadow. So pay attention to what's unsaid, because that's where the truth lives. To affirm your trust in your inner wisdom, declare it now. Comment below, "I trust what I feel." To honor your intuition and inspire others to read beyond words and recognize the truth that body language reveals. Thank you for watching this eye-opening journey into the hidden layers of human emotion and energy. If any of these signs resonated with you, remember, trust your intuition, protect your peace, and never apologize for sensing what others try to hide. You deserve relationships built on authenticity, not secret resentment. If you found value in this message, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more insights like this. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode that could shift your perspective and protect your energy. Until next time, stay wise, stay empowered. Jung's final warning to empaths: they're feeding on your light. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. Carl Jung. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom. If you're someone who feels everything deeply, who absorbs the emotions of others like a sponge, this message is especially for you. Jung's final warning to empaths is not just theory, it's a vital wake-up call. In a world full of energy vampires and unconscious projections, your light is precious and it's under siege. This video will help you understand how to protect your energy and stop feeding those who drain you. As you watch, ask yourself, where in my life am I giving too much? Share your insights in the comments. We'd love to hear how you protect your light. And if this resonates with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and pass this wisdom on to someone who needs it. 1. Being an empath is a gift, but one that comes with danger. Empaths carry a sacred sensitivity that allows them to feel what others cannot even name. They walk into a space and sense the weight of emotions left unspoken, absorbing energies that do not belong to them. This sensitivity is not a flaw. It is rare spiritual wisdom in action. But the very light that makes them healers also makes them targets. Jung understood this danger. When your soul shines brightly, it doesn't just attract love. It calls in the shadows, the wounded, the broken, and the unaware who unconsciously feed off your inner light. These people are not necessarily malicious. They are simply lost in their own pain, and they gravitate toward empaths like moths to a flame, seeking comfort instead of transformation. Empaths often confuse emotional responsibility with love. They pour themselves out, thinking that absorbing someone's sorrow is an act of compassion. But this unchecked compassion turns into a quiet self-erasure. Jung warned that real growth, or individuation, comes from recognizing the line between self and other. Without this, the empath becomes overwhelmed, not from their own life, but from carrying the emotional burdens of those unwilling to face themselves. They begin to dim, not all at once, but slowly, through constant listening, caretaking, overgiving, through guilt-tripped relationships, emotional manipulation masked as vulnerability, and the subtle expectation that they must always be the strong one. Empaths don't burn out because they care too much. They burn out because they forget to care for themselves. Unhealed people unconsciously seek out empaths to avoid doing the hard work of healing. They do not want to confront their shadow, so they drain the energy of those who have already made peace with theirs. These energy dynamics are subtle. They hide behind phrases like, "You're the only one who understands me," or I just feel better when I'm with you. But if you're always the one carrying the conversation, calming the crisis, and holding space, while they offer nothing in return, you're not in a relationship. You're being used as emotional infrastructure. Spiritual wisdom teaches that love without boundaries is not love, it's codependence. To guard your light is not selfish, it's sacred. Your empathy must be guided by discernment. Helping someone doesn't mean abandoning yourself. You can support others without absorbing their chaos. You can care without collapsing. The more you honor your energy, the more your relationships shift. Some people will resist your boundaries because they benefited from your lack of them. That's not your burden to carry anymore. True healing begins when you realize you are not responsible for fixing others. Your role is not to be everyone's emotional sponge. Your gift is powerful, but it is not meant to be given without wisdom. You must learn to say no with love, to walk away without guilt, and to give without draining yourself. This is not cold. This is conscious. And this is the difference between being consumed and being empowered. Your light is not for everyone, and it shouldn't be. Have you ever felt like your light was being drained by someone you were only trying to help? If so, share your story in the comments to inspire and protect other empaths. If not, comment, "I will protect my light," to begin honoring your energy starting today. Let's grow stronger together. 2. The empath narcissist. Dynamic is archetypal and unconscious. Empaths and narcissists are not simply individuals caught in toxic relationships. They are unconscious actors in a symbolic, archetypal drama. This dynamic isn't about love or attraction. It is about unresolved pain, searching for resolution through others. The empath, with their boundless compassion and deep sensitivity, takes on the role of the healer. They give endlessly, hoping their love can soothe the wounds of those around them. The narcissist, cloaked in confidence but hollow within, becomes the taker feeding off the empath's light to fill their own emotional void. This isn't just psychological, it is spiritual. It is a silent cry from both souls, yearning to be seen, healed, and whole. This energetic magnetism isn't random. Carl Jung's wisdom helps us understand that we are often driven by unconscious forces we have yet to confront. The empath's compulsion to fix others stems from a wound of worthiness, believing their value lies in their ability to nurture and save. The narcissist's need to control arises from a deep fear of rejection, masked by grandiosity. Each reflects the shadow of the other. One hides their pain behind caretaking, the other behind manipulation. Together, they create a cycle of mutual destruction, masquerading as destiny. But this cycle is not fate. It is a lesson, a spiritual awakening in disguise. When you begin to recognize this pattern, you are not just breaking free from someone else's grip. You are awakening to the truth of your own energetic boundaries. You are learning that love is not meant to cost your light. You are discovering that giving from a place of depletion is not healing. It is self-abandonment. The narcissist, unknowingly, becomes the catalyst for the empath's transformation. They show the empath where they still betray themselves for approval, where they still confuse love with sacrifice. In Jungian terms, this is an invitation to individuation, to step out of the unconscious roles you've inherited and reclaim your wholeness. When you withdraw your energy from the one who feeds but never gives, you redirect it inward. You begin to see yourself not as broken, but as powerful. The light you once gave away so freely is not gone. it is waiting to be reintegrated. You stop being the healer who bleeds for others and become the sovereign soul who protects their own flame. The empath-narcissist bond unravels when the empath stops needing to be needed, and the narcissist is no longer fed. The illusion collapses, and in its place, truth emerges. A truth born not from blame, but from deep self-awareness. This is not just emotional healing, it is spiritual awakening. You are not here to be consumed. You are here to rise, to reclaim your energy, and to recognize that the love you've been trying to give others is the very love you were always meant to give yourself. If this insight into the empath-narcissist dynamic resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your reflections in the comments below. Let's continue exploring the deeper patterns that shape our relationships together. 3. Trauma and adaptation shape the empath's identity. Many empaths did not simply wake up one day and discover they could feel the emotions of others. They were shaped by environments that demanded they do so. In childhood, emotional attunement often became a form of survival. When a caregiver's mood determined whether the home was calm or chaotic, the child learned to scan every gesture, tone, and silence for signs of danger. This hypervigilance became second nature, eventually shaping an identity rooted in emotional detection. The empath did not ask to become a sponge for others' energy. They became one because it kept them safe. But what was once a defense becomes a magnet. Without healing, the empath's nervous system continues to draw in people who take more than they give. Emotional takers, those who unconsciously seek warmth, validation, and constant attention, are instinctively drawn to empaths. They're not interested in reciprocity. They seek to be soothed, to be seen, to be filled. Carl Jung warned, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is the empath's silent curse, carrying wounds so deep they become the compass for who they allow into their life. And until these unconscious patterns are healed, they will keep attracting those who consume rather than honor their light. Take, for example, someone like Rachel, a nurse who is loved by her friends for always being there, always knowing what to say. Yet every time she's alone, she feels empty. Her phone is full of messages from people seeking advice, yet no one ever checks in on her. She was the child who had to soothe a parent's emotional breakdowns, who believed that being needed was the same as being loved. Now, as an adult, her value feels tied to how useful she is to others. Her boundaries are thin because saying no feels like abandonment. She overgives, then resents, but then overgives again, trapped in a cycle her nervous system equates with love. This is how trauma disguises itself as compassion. It teaches you that the only way to be safe is to disappear behind someone else's needs. And so the empath becomes a mirror for others' pain, but forgets how to recognize their own. Carl Jung's insight into this dynamic reveals that true healing only begins when the empath stops seeing their gift as a burden and starts understanding where it came from. It is not enough to say, "I'm just sensitive." One must ask, who taught me I had to feel everything to be worthy of love? The path to transformation begins with boundaries, not walls, but sacred space. The empath must learn to distinguish between compassion and self-sacrifice. To understand that love, given from depletion, is not love, it is compliance. And compliance is the language of trauma, not truth. When the empath starts reclaiming their right to rest, to be seen, to be nourished, something extraordinary happens. Their gift no longer leaks, it radiates. Their presence no longer invites consumption, it inspires respect. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom reminds us that individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires us to bring both light and shadow into awareness. For empaths, this means honoring not just their capacity to feel for others, but also their right to feel for themselves. Not everyone who finds warmth in your soul is meant to stay. Not everyone who needs you is entitled to you. Protect your light, not with fear, but with clarity. Not with resentment, but with reverence. If you've recognized yourself in this journey of survival turned identity, you're not alone. Comment below, I am ready to heal my empath identity, to affirm your next step toward conscious wholeness. 4. Self-sacrifice is not love. It's a pattern of self-erasure. Many empaths believe that love means enduring pain, fixing others, or constantly sacrificing their own well-being. But this isn't true compassion. It's a silent pattern of self-abandonment. It's not love when it costs you your voice, your peace, or your identity. The emotional labor of always being the healer, the forgiver, the one who carries the weight for everyone else, becomes a quiet betrayal of the self. You start losing your center, not because others took it, but because you gave it away under the illusion that this is what it means to care. When you constantly dim your light so that others feel more comfortable in their shadows, you aren't helping them grow. You're enabling their stagnation. And worse, you are starving your own soul of the energy it needs to evolve. What masquerades as unconditional love is often codependency in disguise. You feel needed, so you stay. You feel responsible, so you fix. You feel guilty, so you stay silent. But the truth is, any love that requires you to shrink is not love. It's a slow disappearance. Carl Jung understood this deeply when he warned about the dangers of the unconscious. He believed that when you shine too brightly, those who are not ready to face their own darkness will not celebrate your light. They will feed on it. And if you're not aware of this dynamic, you'll think your exhaustion is love. You'll think your burnout is devotion. But really, it's the price you're paying for trying to be everything to everyone. This is where spiritual wisdom becomes essential. You must understand that being empathic does not mean being boundaryless. Sensitivity is not a weakness, but it becomes one when it lacks protection. Your intuition, your energy, your emotional depth are sacred, and if you do not guard them, others will drain them unconsciously. You cannot be a healer if you are constantly bleeding. You cannot be a light if you keep burning yourself down for people who refuse to build their own fire. To choose yourself is not to betray others. It is to honor the divine spark within you. It is to say, I matter too. It is to recognize that real love does not demand self-erasure. It celebrates authenticity, truth, and mutual respect. Choosing rest over martyrdom, truth over silence, and wholeness over performance is not selfish. It's self-respect. And without self-respect, no relationship, no act of giving, no spiritual journey can ever be sustainable. Empathy must be rooted in wisdom. Compassion must include yourself. Love must be mutual. Otherwise, it becomes a slow form of spiritual starvation. You are not here to dissolve for others. You are here to rise. You are not a crutch, a savior, or a sacrifice. You are a mirror, a guide, a soul. And when you remember this, you will stop giving your light to those who only know how to consume it and start sharing it with those who know how to protect and reflect it back. If you're ready to break free from self-erasure and reclaim love that honors your truth, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's heal this pattern together. 5. Boundaries are the key to healing and empowerment. Empaths must learn that pouring love endlessly into everyone is not a virtue, but a slow erosion of the self. When you give your energy away without restraint, you eventually feel drained, anxious, and invisible even to yourself. What feels like love becomes a cycle of emotional depletion. This is not what spiritual awakening is meant to be. Awakening is not about becoming more available to others. It's about becoming more available to your truth. Without boundaries, your empathy becomes a gateway for others to feed on your light. Not everyone who reaches for your hand is reaching out of love. Some are reaching out of lack of hunger. And if you keep giving, believing it's your responsibility to ease every burden, you will mistake codependency for compassion. True compassion honors both others and yourself. That is why discernment must become your daily spiritual practice. You don't have to absorb everything you feel. You don't have to fix every storm you walk into. You don't have to explain your no. Saying no is not cruelty, it is clarity. Every boundary you set is a message to your own soul. I matter too. It's not selfish to protect your peace. It's sacred. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And you cannot become that person while constantly shrinking for others. Your light is not a public utility. It is sacred fire. It's not meant to be burned out by the needs of those who only show up to take. And the truth is, some are not drawn to your light for love. They are drawn to consume what they cannot create. The moment you stop apologizing for your energy is the moment you begin to heal. That is when your spiritual wisdom deepens. You begin to notice manipulation masked as praise, guilt trips disguised as requests, and emotional hunger cloaked as need. And when you recognize it, you reclaim your sovereignty. You start to give with intention, not obligation. You speak with love, but stand in truth. You hold space for others without abandoning your own. Every time you honor your energy, your light grows steadier. You stop being reactive and start being grounded. You no longer feel guilty for choosing peace. You no longer feel selfish for resting. You no longer seek validation from those who only love you when you're giving. This is spiritual awakening in motion, the shift from martyrdom to embodiment, from self-neglect to self-respect. And it all begins with boundaries, not as a rejection of love, but as a container for real, healthy, soul-nourishing connection. Do you believe boundaries are sacred? If you do, declare it in the comments. I protect my peace, and I choose healing. 6. Awakening means choosing yourself first. The real transformation of an empath begins the moment they stop apologizing for who they are. They no longer shrink themselves to make others feel comfortable, no longer over-explain to gain acceptance, and no longer wear emotional masks to avoid conflict. Instead, they begin turning their sensitivity inward toward the truth of their own being. This is not selfishness. This is the first step toward healing. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the return to one's authentic self, through the integration of both light and shadow. When an empath lives from trauma, they act out of fear of abandonment, of rejection, of not being enough. But when they live from truth, they reclaim their energy, their voice, and their inner power. Most empaths were conditioned from a young age to prioritize others' needs over their own. They learned to read a room before they learned to read themselves. They absorbed pain that wasn't theirs and carried it as if it were their own. But peace that requires the suppression of your truth is not peace. It is spiritual suffocation. Empaths do not exist to fix everyone. And yet, they often end up becoming emotional caretakers in relationships that drain them. As Jung warned, when you deny the true self to serve the expectations of others, you invite the shadow to take control. In trying to heal others, many empaths unconsciously abandon themselves. The path to healing begins when you decide you will no longer trade your light for temporary approval. Take the story of Sarah, a deeply compassionate woman working in a high-stress corporate environment. She said yes to everything, took on extra tasks, stayed late, made room for others' needs while ignoring her own. At home, she was the same, carrying her partner's emotions, mediating every conflict, trying to be perfect. But perfection is a prison. One evening, after weeks of anxiety and sleepless nights, Sarah broke down. Not because someone hurt her, but because she realized she had betrayed herself. That night marked a turning point. She began to set boundaries, say no, and listen to her body instead of everyone else's voices. Her world didn't fall apart. It expanded. She wasn't cold. She was clear. And that clarity saved her. When an empath begins to choose themselves, everything shifts. The guilt begins to dissolve. The need to explain fades. The energy once used to rescue others now nourishes the soul. This is not the end of empathy. It's the rebirth of it. You are no longer giving from emptiness. You are giving from overflow. Carl Jung taught that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The moment you stop running on autopilot, serving everyone but yourself, you begin living with intention. And with that intention comes the power to transform not just your life, but your destiny. Spiritual awakening for the empath is not about becoming harder. It's about becoming more honest. It's about recognizing that your light was never meant to be a bargaining chip. It was meant to illuminate your path and inspire others to find their own. Leave a like, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss powerful content like this. If you're ready to choose yourself and live from the truth, comment below. I choose myself first. This is my awakening. 7. Your light is sacred, not a resource for others to consume. You are not here to be consumed. You are not a power source for others who refuse to find their own. The truth is, you have been giving pieces of your light to people who only know how to take. And still, you wonder why you feel tired down to your soul. You wonder why your energy feels like it's evaporating, why you're constantly recovering from conversations that feel more like battles than exchanges. But let me tell you this, your light is not the problem. It never was. The problem is who you've allowed access to it. You are not too intense. You are not too emotional. You have simply given too much of your sacred essence to those who could never carry it with respect. Carl Jung said, "The brighter the light, the darker the shadow." As empaths, we naturally draw people who live in shadow, those seeking warmth, understanding, and healing. But not all who approach your light come with clean hands. Some come to feed, to absorb what they cannot create, to draw strength from your soul because they've abandoned their own. And if you're not awake to this pattern, if you haven't had your spiritual awakening, you'll keep calling it love, keep calling it friendship, keep calling it being a good person, while your own energy slowly disappears. You've been trained to serve, to carry, to absorb. But now, you must learn to discern. Not everyone who reaches for your light deserves it. Not every soul that clings to you is aligned with your path. Some people are not looking for healing. They are looking for a host. And the moment you stop being useful to their dysfunction, they will label your boundaries as betrayal. They will say, "You've changed." And they will be right. Because this time, you have. You've finally chosen yourself. This is not a call to become cold or hardened. This is a call to become clear. Spiritual wisdom teaches that true love is not sacrifice, it's alignment. When you are aligned with your own light, you no longer feel guilty for not saving everyone. You realize that healing is not something you can do for someone else. It's a path they must choose. And you are not a rescue mission. You are a sovereign soul. You are here to radiate, not repair. You are here to expand, not shrink. Stop apologizing for your intensity. Stop diluting your presence so others feel comfortable. Stop over-explaining your silence to those who only listen when you're in pain. Your energy is not a charity. Your compassion is not endless. And your boundaries are not up for negotiation. You are allowed to retreat. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to walk away from those who refuse to grow. There is no shame in choosing yourself. There is no guilt in closing doors that lead to cycles of self-abandonment. There is only freedom. There is only the quiet, powerful knowing that your light is not here to be harvested. It is here to illuminate your path. And those meant for you will never require you to go dim just to be accepted. If this message has stirred something deep within you, affirm it in the comments. My light is sacred. I choose to protect my energy and walk in my truth. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss powerful insights like this. Thank you for walking with us through this deep and often unspoken truth. If Jung's warning resonated with your experience, know this: your light is sacred, and not everyone is meant to hold it. Protect your energy. Stand firm in your empathy, but no longer let it be your undoing. If this message spoke to your soul, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next insight into the soul's journey. Until next time, stay aware, stay empowered, and stay in the light.